Working with a lot of people on long-term projects, one of the things to figure out is a lot of people don't want to set goals because they feel like it's putting pressure on themselves. And I'm going to show you how setting goals can actually help reduce pressure on yourself. There's a particular way I think I'm going to talk about it's going to help you, actually help you do the things you mean to do. And so the first at a high level for why it's helpful, it's a bit like if you think about all the different possible things you can do with your time, all the different things that are available to you, which is getting more complicated than ever with the internet and number of sites, side projects, side interests, books you mean to read, shows you want to watch, all the stuff you could do. And part of what a goal helps us do is to narrow down that overwhelm of all the different things that we could have done to then start filtering for, out of the things that I could do, which ones are actually going to move me towards a certain direction. And I've used an example before in one of my, I think, audiobooks about, it's a bit like a radio tuner, where at any given time, right, there's signal passing in all directions for all the different songs and talk stations, and all the stuff is in the air all the time in all directions. And all a radio tuner is doing is saying, well, this narrow band is the part that we're listening for. And so that's what makes it music or voice or something else meaningful to us as signal. And the same idea here of a simple thing a goal is going to do is help you orient out of the clutter, the noise, the exhausting overwhelm of things you could be doing, helps you pick a narrow sliver that makes sense to say, okay, well then, if it works in this direction, I'm going to do it. And if it doesn't, well, but it becomes a filter for the things that are optional, the time we do have control over about what we want to do with it. Now, speaking of which, again, in terms of taking that pressure off yourself, some of the other things people worry about is that they worry that it's going to make them feel bad if they fall short of it. And the thing I want to stress for this is that rather than looking at the objective as, did I get to the exact number or the exact date or whatever, look at instead as, did you do the things that you meant to do that to the best of your understanding moved you in that direction? Right? That's success. Not the things outside your control, not the responses about how the general customers responded or about how the outside world criticized something that you did. That's going to happen, right? And those are out of your control. Now, you can still take that information back as feedback. So next time you rethink, would these steps get me there? And that's also another way that this helps us rule out strategies for, well, the thing I've been doing is not going to get me there, and so I need a different approach. Or, okay, and this is where, again, numbers can be a helpful goal for whether you set your goal for 10, 100, 1,000. Often one of the nice things about quantifying a goal rather than saying just do more of it is it gets us when we're filtering for different answers to how am I going to approach this problem. Again, it's about all the things we're giving ourselves permission to not think about, not worry about, to not even consider, because we can immediately push it off to the side and say, well, that's never going to get me there. That won't work at that number. And if there's any way that could get you in that direction, it gets you to figure out, okay, well, then I can give myself permission to look at it. Another way it gives us lower pressure is it's a bit like an experience. If you have an exam and it's due, I don't know, the exam is happening at the certain day in the semester, or you've got a big deadline for work and you got to give a presentation, you give yourself tons of pressure and stress and you're practicing it and all this kind of stuff. One of the nice things about that, right, is that after the time passes, it's behind you. It's done. You're finished. When, however it came out, if you got a B, if maybe the board felt kind of so-so about it, well, you did it, right? And now at least you're able to put your attention, your time, your thoughts about something else. So again, even though some people stress about the numbers, some people stress about the date side, either of which it's quantifiable, and maybe not necessarily the numbers, but I'm going to do this certain thing, right? I'm going to launch my podcast, going to get a video posted, a certain thing you're trying to do by a certain date, and that date is so important. Because if you don't put a marker on it, then it stretches out indefinitely. It could drag along behind you for years on your back, feeling guilty about, I didn't do that thing. And it's part of why within Home Team, and again, this is, even though my main stuff I work with people on is game development, these kind of problems come all the time. It's part of why our projects have release dates, so that, well, maybe the game wasn't coming exactly how I wanted it to go, something wasn't great about it, but at the start of it, I decided that I wanted the version of this I could produce in 3 months with the time and energy that I have. And this has turned out to be the version it was. And when we take that information back as feedback to factor into next time, how we plan our next 3-month project, 5-month project, 2-month project, if it's a Home Team, whatever time span makes sense. But you don't have to feel shameful about it if, did you spend your energy and time on the things that were related to the project while it was your project? Again, it's simple goal setting stuff. It's there's lots of people out there working really hard all the time about, they're watching video courses and they're reading articles and they're working on little scraps of a dozen unfinished things. None of which feels like it's paying off. None of which feels like it's moving forward, and it's exhausting and it's demoralizing because they're spending all that energy and it's not getting them somewhere. But once they have a clear goal on, well, here's a project that I'm building, an actual thing that I'm committing my attention to by a certain date to have some end quantifiable, measurable result, whether it's numerical, whether it's did I do a thing or not, some version, the best version I could do by that date, suddenly out of all those different confusing possibilities, we figure out, okay, well, is this random drawing going to help, or is there a way I can spend my drawing energy on something related to this project? Is this random article, is random video going to be relevant to the project that I'm on? If not, Now is not the moment to watch it. Now, maybe if it interests me, I might plan some other goal later that's going to put that in my path. But meanwhile, it's going to give me a context for it. So by doing it, I'm serving some greater payoff than just I did something else arbitrary for no particular reason. And I find this so empowering in the freedom it gives us to not stress ourselves about all the stuff it's not doing, right? It's like when you think about a job as obviously you've got some obligations and time frames to do things in, but also it becomes really easy to say what's not your job. To say, well, no, that's someone else's job. Someone else does that. My job is this. There's boundaries defined around that, hopefully. And it's also like it's one of the things that's helped me as a teacher, that because I educate professionally, I train people professionally, when there's confused people out there, and I'm like, well, I wish them well, but if they're not my student, if they're not my training client, if they're not someone who I have a professional working relationship with, it's not my job. See how that works? In a way that was harder before I had that educational boundary of, hey, people pay me for this, and so if I'll help you, I can help you with it. If you want to pay me for it, if not, not how it's going to work. But anyway, so just wanted to share this idea, right? You can set goals on quantity, on time. You want to make them measurable so you can tell, did I do it or not? Could you even tell, how did I fail at this? How did it not come out the way I wanted to? To then recast that failure isn't really just, did it come out perfectly or did it come out, how was it received? But instead, did you spend your time and energy on the things that served that goal? That's success. That's the part you're in control of. It's the part you can use again. And you still want to take that other information back into how you plan your next projects, your future considerations about what will get you to a certain result. Say you wanted 100 people to play it, you got 20 people to play it. Okay, well then it just means that on your later projects, you're going to rethink, where else should I be trying some other experiments, some other strategies, some other approaches, involving some of the collaborators. What could I be doing to next time get me to 100 players? But on that initial project, did I do the things that I thought would get me there? Great. Then pat yourself on the back. Don't be hard on yourself for that. You did the things you meant to do to move yourself towards that goal by a certain date, after which you give yourself the freedom to move on from it. And that's where people don't have that. It drags along, it piles up, they accumulate. Until soon our brain is full of stuff that's never going to get finished, has no deadline. Just a pile of rotting, festering scrap of unfinished things that we can't show with pride, we can't put in our portfolios, we can't speak to as a thing that we have concluded or done something with. Makes us feel a little shamed, makes us feel a little embarrassed. That's awful. I don't want that for people. Anyway, this is part of why I prepared my course, CompleteEveryProject.com, which includes, of course, my 2 audiobooks about how to basically follow through on a specific task you're trying to do, which you've defined, and self-command is included, or self-doubt, which is the other audiobook in there, includes the ebooks if you prefer to read it. That one's about if you're not assigning yourself a task, but you want to, untangling that problem, because I help a lot of people that. But Complete Every Project is basically, it's what I'm talking about here. It's the ability to set a concrete goal by a certain date. I want to do this thing. And then being able to use that as a filter on which tasks do I want to line up for myself, so that between now and then, the tasks, the things I'm doing, my time and energy, out of the many optional stuff I could be doing with what minimal time I have, might be a few hours a week, but how to do those things that's going to add up to that end result by that given date. That's CompleteEveryProject.com. We've recently passed 1,000 students. Hopefully you can join in there too. That's it for the day. Thanks everybody for following along. Hope it's helped you out. And if nothing else, in free framing how goals don't have to be this pressure thing that stresses you out. It can actually help you reduce your pressure, reduce your overwhelm, reduce your stress, because it gives you permission for what things you don't have to think about or do. And it gives you permission for after which time you're done thinking about it, move on to the next thing. That's it for the day. Thanks for following along. Catch you next time. Bye for now.